laser.
Yeah.
Yeah, why not?
Hello.
Hello.
Is that Triffid I hear?
What's happening to me?
What's
Something
happening?
on my head?
Hey, I saw your bug report on the video player.
Yes.
I had Bob go
What's
in and take a
happening?
look at
Something's
it,
on my
but
head.
is it still acting up? Maybe I just need to
It's
restart
not
some
on your
stuff.
head now.
I've been in about
At least to me, I
10
don't see
spaces and I'm
your
having the
head.
same problem.
There's something on my head.
Gotcha. I'm gonna maybe
No, it's
try
not
and
on my head.
restart the
It was
services
on
when
my
things
head.
are a bit quiet, and I'll
It
let
was
you know once I
annoying.
do it. You can tell me if you're still having
Do me
problems.
a favor. Open up your menu.
I was
Go
thinking, I
into
mean, I
Cheers, amigo.
did uninstall and
settings
reinstall
audio,
Banter, but that didn't
and just
solve
look
it.
at your
The
microphone
next
level.
step I
You
was
might
going to
wanna
do was maybe
drop
wipe
that
it because I've
down,
not wiped this headset
some.
for about 2-3 years now.
It seems like such odd criteria, right? That it partially works, but then seems to stop working.
Did you
It's very
get to see the
What level is
video?
that right now for you?
It'll be a case of I'll go into a space,
I
I'll
have
be
not.
playing the file.
I set it
When you
down to
pull up the list, it'll have
600
multiple
percent.
files and it's saying.
But I will.
Yeah,
I didn't know if
but
it's
try it.
got
Like
to,
mine's at
I didn't know if it got
228.
to you or not.
Gotcha.
No, I haven't had
Very
time. I
good.
went into that
It's almost
meeting
like
right
the
away.
two are disconnected.
I
So,
can
but
Okay.
now,
then
but
add
I will
to
chat
it.
with you after this meeting,
Analysis
actually.
here.
Start playing it.
That's better.
If I
That's
have
a lot better
multiples to
than what
list, if I add any more than about 7,
Okay, good.
I can't pick any more than the 7th
And
one in the
welcome.
list.
Nice to meet you.
Just
Gotcha.
Kitty.
So if I put 8 tracks, I
Yes.
can't play track 8. I can only play 7,
Chase.
then it'll automatically
Chase.
play 8. If I shift the list around,
I'm
so if I
so
move
lost.
like
What?
7 to 6, it still plays in the
Cats
original
love
order
like
that it
chasing
was,
these
not the
little
order I
laser
shifted
dots.
it.
Oh, fuck off.
Gotcha. That's very odd
It's a bit
behavior.
weird.
Right.
Yes.
I see what
Yeah, I
you're
mean, I'll try and see if
doing.
restarting services fixes it. It's just odd that something would just go so awry that's been solid for a while. But I'll take a look at that first thing tomorrow morning, and I'll let you know what I find out.
Yeah, I did go in a space where they had a newer version than what's in that one.
Yes.
And that seemed. There's a version, I don't know if it's your version, it might be someone else's, that when you click on the menu, you get a different option.
Earbuds kept disconnecting, so I had to get a different pair of earbuds.
Gotcha.
Oh,
I can't think what
okay.
space it was in now.
Well, it's your mic is.
Well, if you think of it, let me know.
Still sound
I'd
like
love to
you're-
check,
you're
dive in
a-
and
a
compare.
bathroom or something.
Might have been ported.
okay, let me-
Voice. That's why.
Gotcha.
No, she's a real person. She
Oh,
just
yes.
something's wrong with her mic.
Oh, I have no doubt they're a real person.
Howdy, folks.
Yeah,
how's everybody doing?
Wait, do I sound
yeah.
any
I thought you
clearer
changed
this
what you
time?
straightened it so we
We're
can-
good.
You sound clear, but listen to.
I know,
Stream here.
that's okay.
Alright.
Maybe we can talk about setting up a streaming schedule more consistently during the week or something like that, so we
Sure.
can see what the crack is there if you want. But
Okay.
yeah, welcome everyone. How's everyone doing? I've probably only got a couple things really I can waffle about tonight, so I might call on some other people to waffle about things if they are so inclined. But yeah, probably one of the biggest things is that we're probably going to go to Unity 6.2 maybe tomorrow or the next day, I would say at the latest. So that's going to be pretty exciting. There's also a bunch of fixes that's going to include. But yeah, Unity 6.2. We're looking at Unity 6.2.4F initially, but I don't know about you guys. I'm sure a lot of people got this email, right? But they found a pretty significant security flaw. Well, I'm not sure exactly how realistic it is in real world terms, let's say, but Unity have issued a second final version for a lot of recent versions of Unity because it's one of those nasty ones that allows for remote code execution and elevated permissions. Seems to affect all platforms, Android particularly more than others. So we've had to jump versions last minute. We're now going to Unity 6.2.6 F2, right? So for anybody who's interested, that's going to be the version we're going for. That's the absolute latest version right now, as far as I know, in Unity 6.2. We might see some other minor version increases in the near future. There's some neat features we've kind of got an eye on in Unity 6.3. But yeah, that's probably going to be the biggest jump that we'll have for quite a while, right? That's sort of two major engine versions that will be jumping when we do that. So yeah, at this point we're kind of in late stages. We have the new avatar system, which is going to be launched alongside of that, as well as a couple of other bugs and fixes. But the big ticket item really is Unity 6.2. We're going to be going through as many spaces as we can to try and find if there's any weirdness going on, right? There is stuff we are aware of already, stuff that's somewhat outside of the control. But yeah, for anybody who's using probably physics, right? If you're using anything in the way of rigid bodies, you may have to update your project. It's something that we won't necessarily be able to get around. Unity decided to rename some properties on rigid bodies, right? And as a result, the old properties basically are deprecated. So yeah, in some cases, things like velocity, for instance, is being renamed to linear velocity as opposed to then angular velocity separately on the rigid body, for instance, right? But yeah, for anybody who's working on that kind of stuff, all you got to do is jump to the same Unity 6 version, and it will upgrade your stuff for you generally automatically. Yeah, so hopefully everything should just kind of fall in line there. But we'll need to still do some testing on our end to see what we can figure out. But yeah, anybody got any questions about Unity 6.2? I don't know what I can answer, but I've been using it for the last little while, so I can tell you some things, I'm sure.
How is it just going to be a simple, like, if we already have spaces, because you have to understand, I'm still, like, pretty much a beginner at this stuff. If for my existing space, how hard or easy will it be to convert over to the other version?
Generally, it should be pretty easy, right? There's always potentially going to be unforeseen scenarios or exceptions to the rule, let's say, right? But in recent Unity versions, they've actually seemingly done a lot to improve the whole upgrade your project flow, right? In the past, it was a bit dicey, and sometimes it would entirely break if you upgraded it, and there was a few other alternative ways to attempt to upgrade. But first things first, make a backup, right? If you're using version control, happy days. If you're not, copy the folder. But yeah, the process of upgrading is pretty easy. You just pop into Unity Hub and you can click a drop down next to the project that says what version it's on, and you can just bump it up to the Unity 6.2.6 version, right? You'll have to install that, but you can do that in the Unity Hub as well. It's the latest version, so if you just go and grab that, yeah, feel free to grab it in advance. It's kind of like a pre-release download, I guess, in some senses, right? But yeah, basically. So yeah, I mean, honestly, we haven't even really begun to dig into the all sorts of new features that have matured or been introduced, let's say, when it comes to Unity 6. But particularly one we're interested in is the new UI features, right? They've finally gotten rid of the canvas UI. When I say gotten rid of, it's still there. Like most Unity legacy things, it kind of stays there, right? But yeah, this new UI system, a whole lot better, much easier to work with, a lot more performant. And we've already been working internally to enable it across the SDK and across visual scripting, right? Because that's something it doesn't come with by default. So yeah, we've been building out all sorts of enhancements to the SDK behind the scenes. I'm actually hoping that anybody that's familiar with it, especially those using it from the JavaScript side of things, we're really putting a lot of time and effort right now into trying to polish things off there, so that things make sense, or that you've got options, and that things generally feel a little bit better when you're doing things, right? It's less clunky. There's less code to write, and yeah, you can choose how you want to do it. For anybody that's aware, we're about to make it. There's a requirement of the JavaScript interface right now that everything kind of has to be at least somewhat asynchronous. right? Don't worry if you don't know what that means. If you don't, it probably doesn't apply to you. But uh, we're changing that now so that you have the option. You don't have to use asynchronous stuff. It's going to be possible to use synchronous code as well, right? Which, depending on how you're structuring things, that can actually speed things up, right? In essence, instead of having to do every single command, let's say we'll call it that, one after another, this can allow things to run in parallel, which means that a lot more can happen all at once. So yeah, I'm going through and trying to find areas that are a bit let's say complicated, and trying to find ways to simplify them, right? For instance, making a grabbable object right now involves several components, maybe three, depending on what that object is and whether you want functionality. That jumps up to like five. I think we're going to work to try and simplify that into just maybe one new Banter grabbable component, let's say, that handles a lot of that setup for you under the hood. So hopefully it should be a lot easier to just slap a single component onto an object and get kind of the default grabbable behavior, but then be able to just tweak one or two properties there if you want to make it more advanced, right? Rather than needing to know the combination of components that you must use, this should hopefully, just create those for you in essence, and handle the complicated stuff. We're also looking at attachments, which I have been doing some work on, particularly in attachments. There's a few bugs that have been fixed, so I'm excited to let people get at that. We added an auto attach option, for instance, right? I don't know anybody's played with the attachments at all, but there was a bit of a gotcha that you add all the stuff in that you need to, but things didn't attach by default. You had to explicitly call attach. So that was that could be a bit frustrating, and in essence, as part of a real effort overall, I guess, to try and make the SDK a little bit less clunky and a little bit easier to use in general. We're going to try and do things like that, right? Where it's easy, it makes sense. You don't get kind of stuck at one point that that maybe isn't as obvious in terms of how it works. So, yeah, there's honestly loads of improvements coming there. On the other side of a bunch of low-hanging fruit with the SDK that I'm working on right now. Pretty soon we're going to be working on a new asset system. The asset system is going to be pretty neat. It'll have a few things built in that should work really well, right? For instance, it'll have a whole caching system. So if you were to load up an image with a URL, if you use the same URL again later, we'll just use the reference to the previous image rather than download and re-reference that image. So that should make things super fast and super optimized, right? It literally could reduce the number of textures loaded in your space because it'll just reuse the same ones if you've used the same ones. As part of that, we're actually hoping to be able to make it possible to reuse assets in general, right? That's kind of the whole point. If anybody's familiar with Unity and familiar with the asset database and how that kind of works in general, something like that is what we might try to create at runtime in the SDK. So you could pool, let's say, 10 MP3s or 10 textures together, and then be able to assign those with a reference to various different materials or audio sources. And that means then you can kind of reuse them in multiple places. Once again, it gives you more power, more control, more granularity over how much overhead there is in your space. And if you can squeeze more out of it, that means you can do more cool stuff, right? But it also makes what we've got here, a little bit more professional, let's say, in terms of being able to use it as a professional tool to build out professional experiences. The asset database or the asset system, haven't fully settled on what it's going to be called. It might not be called anything because it might just work under the hood. But the idea is that it should make it much easier for you to be able to simply reuse assets. Yeah, so I don't know. A lot of this is kind of fairly technical, so if this means nothing to some of you, that's cool. But maybe I'll stop there and see if anybody has a question. Barry, I saw you had your hand up at one point. Do you want to dive
Just
in there?
a quick one, if I can. Blockbuster, uh, open source code.
Yes.
Is that going to be made available to me shortly?
Do you know what? There's actually a few things culminating right now, and it's unlikely to probably be prioritized before those all come to fruition.
Okay, that's fine.
Right now, there's this Unity 6 update that's going to be coming out pretty soon. It's kind of motivated mostly by updates that we've had, but we're kind of expediting it because of this this um, this security issue that's been
Right, right.
talked about with Unity, right? So we want to
that's
try and
fine.
address that as quickly
Yeah,
as we possibly
just,
can.
I just,
But after that, there's a
I was just,
there's a big chunk of work really centered around the SDK
right.
and trying to get things cleaned up, get things ready for us to be able to engage with a creator community. There's a number of things, like I say, all kind of culminating in the same
Yeah, that's
in the
fine.
same
I just,
sort of breath there. But
I just wanted to be
yeah.
able to put it on the back burner while I'm working on other things, so that's fine. Thank you.
Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah, no. If you can hang fire, I would say a couple of weeks. Maybe we can have a chat then and figure out closer to the time when we
Sure.
can get that arranged.
Okay, cool. Thank
Cool
you.
beans. Yeah. Let's see. Anybody using the streaming system, right? Anybody using that in some of their spaces, or you've been to a space maybe where people are using the streaming system? We've actually got some really cool upgrades coming to the streaming system. We've been working on that a lot internally, and it's actually all about to become fully integrated into the SideQuest website, right? In fact, fairly soon, you're going to be able to not only stream here in Banter, but you'll be able to optionally stream on your user profile on the SideQuest website as well. So that's actually a teaser for something really interesting we're working on internally, just generally involving those kinds of streams, right? It's something that I think could be really powerful if we can get it so that it's integrated into your experience as much as possible, and it's super easy to get going, and maybe it's got a really nice default set of features and configuration, right, so that you can you can do really cool things with it. And yeah, out of the gate, we're hoping to bridge it straight obviously into the SideQuest website, but also we're already in talks internally about how we can also bridge that into Twitch and other such things. And like I say, with it hopefully integrated in game, it should mean that for those of you that aren't savvy with OBS and the whole streaming setup on desktop and on PC, it should be a lot easier to stream your experience from Quest directly, right? With no additional hardware. So yeah, that's something really interesting we're looking at right now, and actually there's even some more interesting developments around that I'm going to just keep to my chest for a little bit longer, but stay tuned, especially in the whole SideQuest realm, as to how that's going to evolve. But yeah, I think in the meantime, those of you that, like I say, have used the streaming solution, phase one is going to be a complete revamp of that UI with a whole lot of new configuration options and the ability to broadcast it to your profile on SideQuest. Yeah, in the future, I think we're going to go with a phase two that will involve, you'll be able to just dynamically spawn a screen in a space, right? As long as you're a mod or an owner of the space, you can just drop a screen in dynamically whenever you want, hopefully adjust, resize, move it around, all that kind of stuff, right? For anybody who was familiar with the web projector on AltSpace, I don't know how many of you remember that, but we're talking that sort of level of functionality to be able to dynamically present stuff, right? Which honestly, I think could be really cool. It brings us kind of one step closer to that built-in integrated screen sharing facility that the likes of Big Screen has. But also, it could open us up to other use cases. I know there was a lot of educational stuff that went on in AltSpace, and they heavily leveraged the web projector, as they called it, to do that. So yeah, hopefully fairly soon you're going to see a significant upgrade in that, and by soon I mean, possibly within a week or 10 days, I would say. But don't hold me to it. uh, Yeah, I've waffled for a solid 20 minutes there. I can maybe stop and see if anybody has any questions. Go ahead, Grenade Head.
When you were talking the video integration with your side quest, my head was thinking maybe like television channels. Anybody that happens to be broadcasting at this moment would show up in like a TV selector guide, and anybody could click on us and see what we're doing in here. So that'd be kind of cool. So
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think that's a great application of it, and I think there could be absolutely a way for us to try and surface that stuff pretty much across the board in terms of the website, and we're already talking about that internally in great detail. But yeah, I mean that's interesting, right? Like a live broadcast, live channels. You could put a TV station sort of setup together. You're absolutely right. That's really cool.
That way, people who are totally unfamiliar with VR and what the heck we're doing here can at least get a taste of it real quick. Yeah.
Would you be able to move
exactly? You're absolutely right.
Would you be able to move your avatar?
Well, yeah. I mean, I talked about it a little bit. Oh, sorry.
I was
Someone else talking?
I just wanted to ask if it was possible to move your avatar within the SideQuest website. In other words, if I'm logged in there, can I have a forward-backwards movement within a world?
That's quite interesting. Yeah, I mean, potentially we could do something like that in future, where we build out some limited form of web client, right, that can bridge into Banter.
Right.
We've done a lot of work behind the scenes about being able to bridge stuff into Banter. Not last week, but the week before, I did a semi-working demo of a bridge between Discord, right? If any of you remember that. So it turns out all this stuff is just based on web technology, and surprisingly enough, Discord uses exactly the same audio format and settings, right? It uses the same bit rate, the same sample rate, all that kind of stuff as we do. So it actually turned out to be a straight pipe through to be able to get a Discord voice call bridged with a Banter space. And I'm looking to go further with that, right? I want to be able to add actually WASD controls. I want to be able to add the ability to see where you are relative to other people in the space, so you can kind of move around, get a sense for where people are, that kind of thing. So it's going to be basically an audio only client enabled through Discord with some extra bells and whistles, right? Basically, that you can see, let's say, a top-down view map of where you are, or you can do some limited amount of movement, right? But yeah, I mean, there's no reason we couldn't potentially add that to the website too, right? If it's the same kind of stuff and we can bridge in, yeah.
Technically, it sounds really feasible. So thank you.
It definitely does, right? If any of you remember a while back, I was demonstrating some internal tech, which I actually hope to polish off after I can unblock with some of the work I've got at the minute. It kind of needs the last 2% fixed up in terms of like the locomotion and stuff, right? But I have a whole dashboard system built out where you can inject people into the space that are powered and embodied by AI agents, right? But that's all web-based, right? That's all technically web-based. So almost all of that could potentially exist on the website. And in that regard, I've kind of already built out a little light client that would allow you to join a Banter space just from the web page without running Unity at all, in fact. So yeah, there's every possibility we can get to that. And one thing I must admit is that internally we've been kind of upskilling a lot when it comes to some of the more popular AI enhanced coding solutions, let's say. I've actually got quite a number of people somewhat semi-addicted to something called Claude Code, if anybody's familiar with that. In a nutshell, it's really interesting for certain use cases, especially prototypes, and limited feature editions, and a bunch of other stuff, right? Enhanced documentation, full test suites. Test suites are great because they mean less bugs, right? We can do regression testing, we can do integration testing, and yeah, we can have more confidence in what we're working with. But with this enhanced AI setup now, honestly, it just makes it so easy to move incredibly quickly. And yeah, we're honestly, I'm in the process right now of kind of rolling that out internally, and I've got a number of people who are already yeah, already on the AI train. And the hope there is that, in a nutshell, how that will translate is that we can deliver stuff quicker, we can move quicker, we can be, you know, more organized, more focused overall, because we'll have that sort of breathing room, right, to be able to get our stuff done, come up for some air, and actually have some time to review what we've done, right, in as much detail as we can. But yeah, any questions? Anybody? Any thoughts?
Yes, I was wondering if when would you guys be releasing a avatar system similar to VRChat? Because I heard you might be doing that, like ones where you can have like your avatar look like whatever you want, like uploading a 3D model from like Blender or something like that.
Gotcha. That's a great question. So right now we've got pretty much that. Our latest SDK includes an avatar uploader that works within Unity. So anything that you can import into Unity, you can work with. We are hoping to make that a much smoother experience for people who are transitioning from VR chat. You can try it out as it is right now. Chances are a lot of stuff that's VR chat specific may not work, right? Like your expression menus and various other VR chat specific avatar things. But for the most part, you know, the mesh, the shaders, any other Unity specific stuff, like animations and other things, they should just work just fine. Right now, you can also include scripting on your avatar if that's the sort of thing people are interested in. You can use visual scripting to be able to add all sorts of functionality to your avatar as well. We're about to drop a really awesome jiggle physics implementation that we worked with some third parties on. Well, we sponsored the implementation of it, and it's super good, really, really good. The best thing about it is just how optimized it is. Right, we've thought in the past about maybe synchronizing that sort of extra bone movement information over the network, right, to try and remove the amount of jiggle actors, let's say, that you've got within a scene. But the truth is, we don't need to do that because the performance is so great. We can just run the physics live on every avatar in the space, even on Quest or Android devices, and it's brilliant. It really works well. It uses the Unity job system, also known as Burst, which basically makes everything multi-threaded in a way that Unity likes. And yeah, it's absolutely saturating the available resource there to absolutely make the best use of it. But yeah, if you're interested in Unity-based avatars like mine, for instance, it might be hard to see, but I've got like a parallax shader on my hoodie that's using a texture to sort of mask that, so the black parts aren't parallax, but the colored parts are. And if you check out my glasses, I've got a nice little matrix shader.
But I can also see it's kind of changing colors.
That's right. It's parallax, so it's actually just a color shade that's way off into the background if you were to look very closely at it. And that's why it sort of changes. If I sort of rotate myself around you, do you know what? My avatar isn't the best example. Look at our boy Vanquisher there off in the background. He's got parallax, he's got rim light, he's possibly Pyomi shaders, he's got all sorts of crazy stuff going on, right? So
Beautiful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
nice example of all the lovely Unity features that you want to play with. We have a big upgrade is coming for avatars in the next day or two, in fact, right? So very soon you're going to have 25 avatar slots. You're going to be able to favorite avatars. You're going to be able to clone other people's avatars. You're going to be able to create new avatar worlds, which are going to be much better than the existing ones in that when you change your avatar, it's going to happen a lot faster, like almost instantly. With the new avatar system that we've got, things work really great behind the scenes in terms of caching and stuff like that. So, yeah, it really helps to make everything load fast, right? And one thing we're trying to make sure that we can kind of cover is that quick iteration time, so that when you build it, you upload it, you can apply it instantly, right, without having to kind of wait for it to be processed in some way. Yeah. So, oh, Barry's already in there.
I had to.
Barry's on a. Barry's on a.
A test
You've
flight
got the new
day.
version of the client. Is that what you've got?
I do.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. There you go. Barry's able to clone my avatar in real time, basically.
I am basically.
Can you
Shane
clone
now.
his wallet? His wallet
Yes,
also.
let's see if it's...
Yeah.
His wallet?
And his house. Get his house.
Can you do an impression of Shane? That's the real question.
No, I wouldn't even want to try. I'd be liable for some legal thing, I'm sure.
You don't have to.
But that's great. Thank you for that.
Shane has already.
I appreciate you being able to demonstrate that.
As an avatar, as a bot.
That's true. That's right. I've got an AI bot. It talks exactly like me. Uses 30 minutes of my voice to be able to train it. It's surprisingly accurate. But yeah. So yeah, I mean, that's honestly, the avatars is going to be a big upgrade, right? And honestly, hopefully a big step in the direction towards what people are familiar with on VR chat. And honestly, the hope is that it could become super accessible, right? So that you can find avatar worlds and kind of get started instantly, right? Straight away. As soon as you first start on the platform, in the welcome space, you'll have a portal that takes you hopefully to worlds where you can find avatars straight away. We are going to be replacing the Ready Player Me website with the new avatar slot screen, right? So for those of you that are familiar with Ready Player Me is effectively going to become deprecated as in from a couple of days from now. But don't worry, everything is still going to work fine. Nothing is going to break. Your avatars will still work. In fact, you can still open the browser, see all of the different links to our own Ready Player Me, as well as all the community ones, so you'll still be able to find them and access them very easily. What we're just going to do is change the functionality of that avatar icon up in the top right of your main menu, right? We're going to change that so that it goes to this new screen where it shows you all your avatar list. Yeah, so that's like 2 days away.
Wow.
Can you, while you're doing that, try to remember, put a friend button there on that menu so that we can friend people from that menu there. Or no, not
from
friend,
which
not
menu?
Friend, us. No, I'm saying it wrong. I'm old.
Good day.
A favorite button, so you can favorite the world, whatever the world you happen to be in shows up on that right hand
Yes.
menu over there. Put a favorite button there, please. Makes it so much easier
Gotcha.
to favorite a world.
Yes, absolutely. I think somebody else has already put that in, but I'll take a note regardless.
Yeah.
I would also,
as long as you're in the area of that menu, do that.
I'd also like to be able to
Let me just.
I'd like to be able to protect my avatar as well.
The place that you're in currently will show, and there's a little heart.
Right. That's the main way I do it. But having it on that little picture there would be so much quicker.
Cool. Yeah, makes sense.
And let's see. Okay.
I would also like.
So add favorite option to the right panel space preview. That's what we're talking about, right?
Yep.
Yep. Yep.
Okay.
Heart icon there. Yep.
And
Well, the ticket is open. The number is 1614.
I want to protect my avatar.
Implemented.
What's that, Barry?
Yeah,
I want to
that's
protect my
actually my
avatar
question.
so that nobody can steal
Is
my
cloning
avatar.
going to be off by default? Because I'm not down with people doing that either.
Yeah, I mean, I could become Kitty
Yes.
right now.
Okay. So absolutely. If you're familiar with VR chat, you should hopefully find this pretty familiar, right? But the author of the avatar will have the ability to set it as public or private.
Ah.
Okay.
If it's private, then nobody who has the avatar will be able to make it available for cloning. But then the person who has the avatar will also be able to turn cloning on or off, right? So I
That's
think
awesome. Ah.
if you're familiar with VR chat, that's standard sort of setup over there.
Oh, I have a question, if that's okay.
I just
As long
Yeah.
as
saw Barry because he has the thing already, clone yours, and it's like, well, I don't have anything to stop anybody from doing that right now. So
Yeah, there's only a couple of people that have it, I think.
I don't think anybody apart from Barry has it. Barry's been testing with Technocrat behind the scenes, and he's got access to some of the new builds for some of that stuff. But yeah, we'll all have it in a couple of days, right? And whatever happens, you're going to be able to disable the ability for people to clone it. And yeah, maybe I'll take a note to have that disabled by default as well, if that's what you guys would prefer.
That's I
Yeah.
think
that would be
good idea.
by
That would make
default is
sense.
better.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. I also have a question regarding worlds as well. Remixable or shareable worlds. Is it possible, say, if I was to build a world that I could also lock it and not have every people remix it or whatever it is that you call that? Or are all the worlds remixable by default?
That's a good question. So there's no built-in remix functionality, right? But as I say that, it would be possible for somebody to, I guess, inspect the code, try to take URLs and reconstruct a website that uses your space as well, right? In that case, it would be obviously only the compiled version of your space. They wouldn't have any access to the underlying source project of your space, right? Just to be clear on that. But I mean, right now, given that everything in Banter kind of operates like a web page, it means that technically people can view source and kind of hot link to things. So yeah, I mean it's a tricky one. I think we would have to come up with
Yeah.
something specific that would
Because
prevent that.
yeah, because the problem with my world is that I tend to spend months building every single mesh myself. So it's like a huge thing. It's not like I've put some assets from the Unity store everyone could get. So there's some worlds of mine that I may not want that to happen to. Do you know what I mean?
So I just want to reiterate here: we're not talking about anybody having access to your source project at all. In fact,
Yeah.
this
Okay.
to put this into perspective, this would be the same as somebody being able to create a private instance of a world in VRChat, right?
Okay.
Exactly
in
the
that
same
case,
as that. That's kind of the
great.
only thing that they can do with this,
Got
right?
it.
That's
Okay.
the maximum extent that they could go to, right?
Okay,
Because they
well
can't
then
change
that's
it.
flattering. If that's nice.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That being said, we are also working on a better sort of spaces and instances setup that will allow you to create private instances and even browse instances
That's
for
pretty
spaces.
cool.
Once again,
That's
same sort of
love
stuff that you know on VR chat.
Nice. Nice.
Sorry.
Good. Happy.
Guys, can I make a suggestion?
Sure.
Because we have visual scripting and because visual scripting includes JavaScript, I don't think it would be too hard to literally write about 2 or 3 lines of JavaScript and attach to a visual scripting graph in the root of your app that literally just compares when the scene is loaded and baked into the what are they called? The Windows.banter and the Android.banter. That it just checks the URL that this is currently being loaded from, say,
Yes. That's it.
designergirl.bant.ing, and if it doesn't match that, then just redirect them. Just say window.location, and then send them to a home or something.
Yes. That's a
And that
valid point. You could
it's
absolutely
baked in.
bake it
You can
into
never
your
see it.
space. Yeah.
And also, I'd like to be able to put, say, if I built a world, a bespoke world for here, and I'd love a way that you can watermark it, say, world by Designer Girl, because a lot of the worlds on here, I thought, God, this is amazing. And I don't know who built it, and I'd like to go and see more of their worlds. And that's what I really miss, because I'm an avid creator. So if I see a world on here, I thought it's beautiful. I'd like to see, who made it. So say if I did build a world, I'd love an option where I could have a button to either say it's remixable or shareable, and then all they would have it say a remixed world by Designer Girl, and then
Yes.
it's a way of getting everyone to know each other, and you go, oh, I must meet Designer Girl, I must meet whoever's made that world. It'd be a really nice way to bring the community together, because I'm all about sharing, but I don't want people to be able to live my world that I spent like 16 months making or something and take it to another platform. That's the only thing. But you say that's not possible, then I'm absolutely up for instances, absolutely up for sharing. Love it.
Yes. Well, look, I should also probably point out here that when it comes to content ripping, there really isn't any guarantees we can ever make, right?
Yeah.
And I think that goes for every platform. When it boils down to it,
Ah.
there are so many methods out there, and there's so much software out there that's designed to screw this stuff over that it's a nightmare, right? But like Shoseki said, there's ways and means for you to be able to protect yourself against that. And it's the same with avatars, right? We've seen some really exotic examples of people using things to try to protect their avatars for exactly the same reason, right? In some cases, people spend more on their avatars than they do on their cars. And that can be a hugely valuable asset then, basically, right? If your avatar is worth 16 grand, you want to try and protect that. Like, we've seen people who use things like blend shapes that completely distort the mesh by default and then only bring it into alignment with a specific local blend shape password they pass into their avatar, which synchronizes everything, right? It is a quite clever way to do it, but it also has its own flaws in that there's a blend shape password out there, and when somebody can get that, they can kind of reverse things, let's say. But I mean, we're trying to take steps to improve things in that regard. The asset management system that's used for the new avatar system does encrypt the avatars, making it way harder to just lift assets out of cache folders or be able to hit CDNs and download things. We're going to be probably migrating worlds over to that same asset system, which will give them that same benefit of encryption. And it'll just make it harder for people to use asset rippers out of the box using the assets that are on the platform. So in a nutshell, it should become harder by default for people to be able to do that. Harder, but never impossible. I should add. But it should be harder by default. And Shoseki's was a really good point there. It's actually such a valid thing. Like, you can totally embed something into your space that will send people somewhere else. Send them to a different space every time they try to use, let's say, your scene, and that's really cool, right? You could send them to AFK jail if that's what you wanted to do.
That's brilliant. If needed, that's a great idea.
For sure.
I mean, remember also is that you can constantly update those those bundles. Every time you do a build and you upload to Banter, you're basically replacing the files which are already there. So you could have all sorts of crazy built-in functions that you could say, actually, I don't want these collection of people to be in the space. I'm going to add a little blob of JSON to my, and if this person joins, they automatically get kicked out. Or you could say, I don't want these websites to show up when in the player, or I want, there's all sorts of options.
Oh, you talk about like whitelists and other lists to keep people in or out? That's actually quite interesting. Wow. Because they have groups, don't they, on VR Chat, where if you belong to a group, then only people of that group can visit. There's so many options. Oh, quick, I'm going to get a little cheeky question into Shane, and then I'll be quiet. Is there any hint of anything mobile access to this amazing Banter on the coming up in the next year or two?
We've had it on the Google Play Store for about a year.
What? No, wait. From mobile phone? I mean, mobile phone.
Yes.
No way.
Google Play Store. Get Banter.
Oh, that's
It's
what.
there.
Oh, okay,
On-screen
wait. That's why.
controls.
Yeah, okay. I'm on iPhone. I'm on iPhone. Shane, help
Nope.
me. I'm on
Nope.
iPhone.
No iPhone
No,
yet. iPhone's
come
really
on.
tough because it's a
No,
whole fresh build from scratch.
no.
Or
That's
use
why I
Honestly,
don't
I'm
know.
not
or
sure if we'll
browser.
ever
No
get to
way.
Or if you,
iPhone, but
you can if you use a
Oh,
browser.
because iPhone's
gutted.
just it's a limited platform, right? It's a lot more restricted, and we do some mad stuff with
Ah,
the underlying browser integration. That being said, it's not totally off the cards. It's just something that we
oh,
have to
that's why I don't
rebuild
know.
a lot of the internals for Banter just
Yeah.
to be able to kind of support
Oh,
iPhone in general.
I
But yeah, we're on the
wanna
so I
Google
didn't
Play
know.
Store.
Yeah.
browser.
Right.
Along those
I
lines
have
with
a
the Apple product, uh, Barry and I were talking just a little bit this morning. He has an Apple, and he likes to build worlds. He's got an Apple computer, and when he's done
Yes.
building the world in Unity, can he package it into a Unity package, and then hand it to either you or somebody to get it loaded in here? Because he doesn't have an uploader that will work from Apple to here. So, or could we create
Sure.
a computer on your server, a virtual computer that's all it's for, is to take an Apple project and convert it directly into a PC or and whatever we need to make these worlds work. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, at some point we'd hope to add Apple support, but our SDK, like I said, involves a browser integration, which is cross-platform, right? Under the hood, it is cross-platform, but there are nuances there that we have to handle when it comes to Apple, kind of the same as iOS.
Damn.
I mean, as I say that, we did once have a version of Banter loosely running in the Vision OS simulator, right? Which is very similar to iOS and iPad OS and all those. But to your point, Grenade Head, no, we're probably not going to provide any kind of service like that. That's just something that would be way too costly for us to provide. But yeah, absolutely, Barry. You could pass the project files over to another community member if they agree
Yep.
and they're happy to do that last final build step for you until we can add support. But it's not something that we'll offer internally, right? That's not a service that we can unfortunately sustainably afford to be able to offer.
Yeah.
All right,
Okay.
that's
Would
great.
you
Thank you.
add
Just-
support for Banter to Android XR when Android XR releases?
So in theory, we already support Android XR because Banter is basically built on top of OpenXR, right? So we're using a special version of OpenXR on Android and Unity. We're possibly one of the few, if not the only, games out there that uses the exact same APK file for both Pico and Quest, right? Which has previously been pretty tricky with just the Unity engine alone, right? But OpenXR is. There may be some new controller profiles we'll need to add, but other than that, everything should pretty much work out of the box. So yeah, we're hoping to be available on Android XR across the board. Do you know something you mentioned before, right?
Something
Yes, sorry, go ahead.
something that I kind of don't like about the menu in Banter. The menu when you click your left joystick and it opens
Yes.
this kind of menu there. I would like it much better if you had more of a radio menu style, kind of like on VR chat, because this menu, like, it kind of doesn't work sometimes. It's kind of finicky to use sometimes, at least for me
Yes.
anyway. I don't know if anyone else feels that
Yes.
way, but for me, that's not really that good of a design in that menu.
Yes, no, you're absolutely right. The menu is actually more of a prototype, and we're hoping to upgrade that considerably. It's kind of a first step into direct touch as we try to move towards a potentially hand tracking only world in the future. We think that there's going to be a number of headsets in the future that will target hand tracking by default and may ship controllerless. But you're absolutely right. That menu, in fact, also our main menu is built with something called UI Toolkit, and we've been waiting for the official release of that in Unity 6.2, which we're about to roll out in the next day or two. Right? Once that is out, we get a plethora of new options and new stability when it comes to interacting with that kind of UI, especially the world space version of it, which is what that hand menu, that quick menu as we call it, is built upon, right? So you're absolutely right. There's definitely a lot of work we have to do there. It's kind of like I say, a prototype in a kind of a direction towards making all of our menus support sort of seamless transition from direct touch, right? Just using your fingers to be able to tap things to interact, right up to your pointers and being able to use those at a distance, let's say. And with this new system, and because we're enabling this, of course, in the SDK, the hope is that we can have that seamlessly work across any UI that you create for your own spaces as well, right? That you have direct touch and cursor input for that as by default, right? So, yeah, absolutely good call out there. That menu is certainly lacking, and we want to get to that as soon as we can get this UI toolkit and Unity 6 upgrade out and in place. Barry, just one sec. I wanted to address a comment from a while ago before it goes out of my head. We talked about authors of spaces and surfacing those so people can find who made the space and stuff like that, right? So I want to talk to you a little bit about some changes we're planning to make to how things are structured on the SideQuest website, and how you kind of link spaces whenever you're setting up a featured space on the website, right? Now, stick with me because this is going to get a little bit out there. Spaces on the website are likely going to be renamed to groups. We're then going to decouple that one-to-one relationship between new groups on the website and worlds, right? We're going to rename the actual worlds, the spaces in the platform are going to become known as worlds. And what's going to happen there is that you're going to be able to link multiple worlds or no worlds to your group, let's say. And I'm sure some of you may start to realize the direction that we're heading here is to, effectively provide something that's familiar to the kinds of communities that are already doing this sort of stuff. So groups will provide a way for you to have memberships people can join, not necessarily monetary or subscription memberships just yet, but memberships all the same. They'll be able to, see information about events, posts, everything in the context of a group. All of that information will kind of be pulled together. Then within that context, you can have several worlds under the umbrella of that group. And just as things kind of work now, but in a more enhanced way, you can have several denominations of certain group members, right? We'll have whatever levels of moderator powers and stuff like that inside those linked worlds, right? So really what we're doing here is kind of consolidating, because the majority of the functionality we've got there actually already does a lot of this stuff. So we're actually just trying to bring it a little bit closer to the industry standard. Let's be honest. In doing so, hopefully we can make it easier for creator communities to get started, right? People are thinking about migrating over to Banter. We want to make that process as smooth as possible, as familiar as possible. And as we begin to do some of our own community outreach to try to get in touch with some of these communities, the hope there is we've got the tools, we've got the processes, we can really impress when it comes to how easy all of that is to do. So I hope I guess to the point about the authors of the space, we're going to decouple a kind of a creator of a space from the owner of a group, let's say, and creators of spaces will be considered separately. We'll probably add some infrastructure there that will allow you to see who created the space, who the author is, if that's some information that we have. Right. The thing is with Banter is
to work with someone. Say if you wanted
sure.
to team up, or I might go to a space. God, this person's amazing. I'd love to build a space with them. I'd love to.
Yes.
I think it would bring us together if we only knew who had made everything. Do you know what I mean?
Yes. Absolutely. Well, look, I mean, the thing about Banter is that every space is effectively a website, right? That's something I just want to remind you. When you visit a space, you're actually visiting a web page. In this space, the web page is dev.bant.ing, right? HTTPS dev.bant.ing. That's where we're at right now. A new upgrade to the browser system pretty soon will let you display that web page inside the world that you're also in, right? With ease. So that becomes actually a new surface, right? If you think about your own web page serving as like your blog or something like that, you'll have a new 2D surface to put information, general information about the space. And we're actually already going to populate that by default with author information, right?
Cool.
So that's going to be using basically the space owner information for now as we kind of start things out. But in future, as we decouple the creators from the groups, then we'll have that owner information in a different place, right? And then, of course, like there could be some sites out there that integrate with Banter that have never come near us, never registered on our site. You'll still be able to visit them because we have a completely democratized content discovery system, let's say. And in those cases, you know, it'll be kind of up to them to decide how to communicate who the author is, let's say. But you'll always have the web address, right? So if you're savvy enough, you can go to, you know, whoever at domain and try and email them in the same way as you might be able to get in contact with any other web or web address out on the internet. Do you know, maybe that's a good opportunity for me to filibuster the last few minutes talking about another feature that we're going to add, which is kind of similar to this. Basically, we're going to make it possible for you to visit pretty much any website in Banter, even if it's not a Banter-enabled website. The plan is to be able to have a fallback system that will load up a default world, right? Something kind of like what we're in here. And it will present a browser, kind of a shared browser, that visits that site and multiple people can join together. You could literally go to google.com in Banter with your friends and then use Google as a browser inside of Banter, right? Fundamentally, I've said this a lot in the past, but we are just a browser at the core of Banter. And yeah, we're going to really lean into that and make it possible to pretty much go anywhere on the web and see whatever kind of obscene stuff you want to see with your friends, right? But yeah, so I think a lot of that kind of plays in, right? It's about content discovery, it's about seeing websites, it's about loading all that up. A lot of the browser stuff that we've been overhauling internally has been designed to make this possible in the most optimized way that we can. So yeah, hopefully it should become a lot easier for you to be able to yeah, I don't know, cyber stalk the creators of spaces if that's what you want to do. That's cool. No judgment here.
Shane,
I had an
what's the
idea-
plans with
I had
the
an idea
AI?
while you were-
Also, I'd
okay.
like to ask, if so,
Whoa,
if
3
this
questions at once.
Banter
Love it.
if Banter is going to support extra hardware features like full body tracking, haptic suits, VR gloves, and stuff like that.
Great question. We already actually support full body tracking if that's something you're interested in through SteamVR. We are working on trying to add standalone tracking, the automatic hip tracking in Quest, although it's not that great, so it's not really worth it if I'm honest, so don't get excited. But even things like some of the slime trackers and similar stuff, we want to be able to support those in a standalone form. Other than that, we've got support for hand tracking. We've got support for external data feeds using blend shapes, which technically opens up a number of other tracking options, right? You can have lip tracking or eye tracking. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think it'll just depend really on how much work is involved to be able to integrate some bespoke tracking technology, and whether that's something that we want to try and carry that technical debt for, and whether or not we can kind of enable that to be created within the community instead, right? Or whether we include that within the primary upstream. But yeah, sorry, I've got Barry and Grenadehead were also asking questions.
Okay,
Barry, do you want to go first?
Yeah, quick one. What are the plans with this AI builder that's sitting beside me here?
honestly, it was kind of a cool prototype that we built, and the plan is to take the learnings from it and build them into a whole suite of new tools.
Okay.
New tools that we're already working on.
So this could disappear?
I wouldn't say disappear. The entire thing is included as a sample in our SDK, so you can create your own worlds with it. And the source code has been available for quite a while.
Yeah,
the underlying functionality to be able to generate AI content is built into the SDK, so that won't be going anywhere. Though it is a shared facility, right, and it has limits. So if people do start to use it a lot, it might become congested. But the option is to always kind of provide ways to plug in your own services, plug in local models, stuff like that. I saw an incredible voice model the other day that was 1.5 billion parameters, and it can run on your phone, and it basically does the same thing as 11 Labs, right? You can have that speech-to-speech experience, and be able to interrupt it and just talk to it naturally, but it just runs on your smartphone, completely offline, completely local, right? Your own agents that you can do whatever you want with. But anyway, I'm getting distracted. Grenade Head, you had a question. Bring us home.
When you were talking about groups, like at the corporate level, I'm just imagining, let's say you had a widget company and they could have a series of spaces in here under a group, and their staff could come into that group. They never get to see the rest of Banter's group. That's all they see is the 4 or 5 rooms or whatever that corporation wants. You could do something of that nature, I guess, where you get them from the rest of this. They don't get to see all the little crazy stuff we're doing. They just see their little professional world that they've created.
Yes, we can all hide away in the dark, dank basement of it all, and then they never get to see us. But honestly, that's a cool idea. Yeah, exactly, right.
Yeah, that's great.
It's white labeling. You're absolutely right, Barry. That's exactly what that is, or the real solution to that, right? And it is something that we haven't technically ruled out as we built Banter, right? Fundamentally, the client runs off what we call internally a remote config, which controls certain startup options. Let's say things like the default welcome space that people load into, the default home space that people go to after they load into that. Where people go with AFK jail, for instance. These are all things that we can dynamically change on the fly, believe it or not. And that remote config solution, it could enable some powerful white labeling in future where people could control directly where they would go, right? But there's more than that. Probably you would want branding, you'd want your own private package names for a Banter. You'd want your own splash screens, all that kind of stuff. And I imagine that's what people would want in those kind of corporate situations. But like I say, we've got the automated build infrastructure behind the scenes that allows us to build Banter automatically, and we'd probably have to try and implement that for some corporate clients as well, right? But the truth is, we need to obviously figure out the logistics of all of that, right? And right now, we're very much focused on trying to build out some cool stuff rather than try and branch into sort of different enterprise verticals, that kind of thing. But definitely,
that'll be something cool.
Yeah, definitely. Like I say, something that we've been careful not to rule out with what we've been doing.
Oh my god.
Hey, also, I don't know
Awesome.
if you have a answer to this, but what does it mean, like when you're on a quest 2, and there's rainbow blotches on the screen that like follow your head when you turn?
Oh, are you talking about the blinders? Are you talking about the anti-motion sickness setting? You're talking about the circular things that come in around your vision as you move.
No, I turn that off. It's always there. Even when I'm in pass-through mode, it's still there. The blotches are still there. And they just follow my screen whenever I turn my head.
I'm not sure what you mean by blotches. Yeah.
There's like these spots. There's like these dead pixels in the screen or something.
Gotcha. I mean, that sounds like it could be it could be that. I mean, is that happening in every game? Does it happen in the main quest menu, or is it only a banter thing?
Rather I'm on Banter, VR chat, Resonate, the
Yes.
Steam VR home, or just in pass-through mode, looking at my surroundings. They're always there. There's 3 of them.
Gotcha. Well, depending on how big they are, right? If they're tiny, isolated, yeah, pixels. That's what I was going to think, right? It's either dead pixels, or what you might have is that somebody's inadvertently left. The lenses on your headset are effectively like magnifying glasses. So if you get a good mental image of an ant underneath that magnifying glass, that's what happens to your screen, and it can literally burn a mark into the screen if if the lenses are exposed to the sun for any extended period, more than even a few minutes, I think. So that sounds like what you're possibly experiencing. If they're more like blotches and less like individual pixels, then it's probably a screen.
Blotches. And they're all
Yeah.
ununiform and
Yes. Is there like a line? Do they look like a streak, like a line?
no, they're just little like dots. There's no like lines or anything. They're just dots and they move with my head and it's really distracting. For no matter what program
Yes.
I'm using.
Yeah, that is really annoying. It's unfortunately not something that's easily fixed either. Depends on how new the device is, but you said it was a Quest 2, right?
Yeah, so
Yeah, well that means that I think they're out of warranty at this point, right? Because they haven't been sold directly now for probably the lifetime of their warranty. Which, if they were still in warranty, that would be a warranty repair. Basically, you would send that back if it's dead pixels, right? And on the other hand, if it's